The stage lights turned brighter when she appeared. Ann-Margret. Flaming hair, electric hips, a voice that could shake a room. In the 1960s, they called her the female Elvis, a title both flattering and dangerous. She was passion personified. The camera adored her, audiences screamed her name, and for a moment she seemed untouchable. But Hollywood fire has a cruel way of testing its brightest flames. In 1972, before a sold-out crowd in Lake Tahoe, a single misstep sent Ann-Margret plummeting 6 meters onto a stage that suddenly felt like concrete. Her jaw shattered, her face crushed. The headlines whispered one question. Was this the end of the woman who had danced beside Elvis Presley and stolen America's breath? What happens when the most radiant star collides with silence, when beauty and vitality are replaced overnight with pain and fear? Could the female Elvis ever rise again, or would she be remembered as a fallen goddess of Hollywood's golden age? Tonight, we uncover the untold story of Ann-Margret, the woman who refused to let tragedy extinguish her fire. Ann-Margret Olsen was not born under Hollywood lights. She entered the world in 1941, in the small Swedish town of Valsabyn, a place of cold winters and quiet endurance. Her father dreamed of a better future, and when Ann-Margret was still a child, the family packed their hopes into suitcases and crossed the Atlantic, settling in Illinois. The girl who spoke little English carried with her something far more powerful than words, a gift for movement, for music, for expression that needed no translation. Neighbors recalled the shy immigrant child who transformed the moment music played. By her teenage years, she was performing in school shows, her natural charisma already impossible to ignore. America, still smitten with rock and roll, found in her a spirit both foreign and familiar. Scandinavian beauty wrapped around raw, unfiltered energy. Her first real stage came through small clubs, smoky rooms where a teenage Ann-Margret sang with a band, each note sharpening her edge. It was there that whispers began. This young woman wasn't simply talented, she was electric, and soon the right eyes in Hollywood would notice. Hollywood does not forget first impressions, and Ann-Margret's arrived like a thunderclap. In 1963, she burst into the national spotlight with Bye Bye Birdie, shaking the screen with a performance so alive it felt dangerous. Audiences didn't just watch her, they surrendered. Time magazine called her a torrid tangerine tornado, and suddenly the girl from Sweden was a household name. Her flame only burned hotter when she starred opposite Elvis Presley in Viva Las Vegas. On screen, they were pure electricity, two forces colliding in rhythm, hips and heat. Off-screen, rumours of romance fed tabloids and fantasies alike. Whether true or not, the pairing cemented Ann-Margret's image as both glamorous and untamed. Through the 60s, she moved seamlessly from musicals to dramas, proving she was more than just a female Elvis. She became an entertainer who could sing, dance, act, and captivate without effort. For a time, it seemed nothing could touch her. But behind every standing ovation, shadows begin to form. Fame, as dazzling as it is, casts the darkest contrasts. And Ann-Margret was about to learn just how fragile a superstar's glow could be. Behind the flashing lights and breathless headlines, Ann-Margret longed for something simple, a place to belong. Her name was often linked to Elvis Presley, their chemistry on Viva Las Vegas fueling endless speculation. For fans, the two seemed destined, Hollywood royalty wrapped in sequins and song. But in reality, Elvis returned to his world, and Ann-Margret searched for hers. She found it in Roger Smith, an actor who first caught her eye in the early 60s. Unlike the tabloids' fantasies, their love was not built on spectacle but on steadfast loyalty. When they married in 1967, many doubted it would last. Yet Roger became the constant she had craved, managing her career, shielding her from the chaos, and standing beside her through every storm. Though they never had children, their marriage became its own quiet family, a partnership of devotion that lasted more than 50 years. For a woman branded the female Elvis, Ann-Margret discovered that her greatest role was not as a starlet or icon, but as a wife fiercely protected and cherished. Yet even within this sanctuary, fate was preparing its harshest test. September 10th, 1972. Lake Tahoe. Ann-Margret walked onto the stage, radiant as ever, ready to electrify another crowd. But in a matter of seconds, glory turned into nightmare. A loose platform, a single misstep, and she plunged 22 feet onto solid concrete. The sound of impact silenced the room. Gasps replaced applause. Her injuries were catastrophic. Her jaw was shattered, cheekbones crushed, her arm broken. Doctors whispered that she might never sing again, never smile the same way, never return to the stage. The photographs from before, vibrant, untouchable, aflame with charisma, stood in cruel contrast to the bruised and broken woman now confined to a hospital bed. Hollywood, relentless in its hunger for new faces, began to move on. For many, Ann-Margret's story ended that night in Tahoe. She had been a comet, brilliant, unforgettable, and gone too soon. But within her, a different fire refused to die. Because the real question was not whether Ann-Margret could survive her fall. It was whether she could rise from it, and somehow reclaim the life and career the stage had nearly stolen away. The hospital room was stark white, humming with the cold rhythm of machines. Ann-Margret lay motionless, her face obscured by bandages, her jaw wired shut. For a woman who had built her identity on expression, on movement, on fire, this silence was the cruelest punishment. Doctors debated her chances. Reporters whispered of an ending. But inside that fragile body, a stubborn voice repeated a single vow: I will come back. Recovery was brutal. She had to relearn how to speak, how to smile, how to endure pain most could not imagine. Each day began with swelling, stitches, and mirrors that showed a face she barely recognized. Yet Roger Smith never left her side, feeding her, encouraging her, believing when others doubted. When she finally stepped back into the light, audiences held their breath. Would the magic still be there? Then, with a single note, a single flicker of her trademark spark, Ann-Margret proved she had not been destroyed, only remade. In that moment, the fall from Tahoe was no longer her ending. It became her resurrection. Do you remember the first time you saw Ann-Margret whirl across the screen in Bye Bye Birdie or light up beside Elvis in Viva Las Vegas? Those images did not fade with her fall. They grew stronger, etched deeper into America's cultural memory. Her comeback was not just survival, it was triumph. In the years following her accident, she earned acclaim in films like Carnal Knowledge, where critics finally recognized her as more than a musical starlet. Awards and nominations followed, including Golden Globes and an Academy Award nod, proof that resilience could be as dazzling as beauty. She also reinvented her presence, moving gracefully into television specials, Las Vegas residencies, and later roles that revealed depth and maturity. For audiences who had once feared she was lost, her return was a gift, a reminder that legends are not defined by their falls, but by the courage to rise. Ann-Margret's legacy is not simply that of the female Elvis. It is the story of a woman who carried fire through pain, leaving behind not only iconic performances but also a lesson in endurance. And still, her glow lingers. Ann-Margret's story is more than a Hollywood biography. It is a parable about survival. She was called the female Elvis, adored for her beauty, her fire, her fearless energy. She soared to fame, crashed into tragedy, and against all odds rose again. In the end, her greatest role was not the starlet in sequins, but the fighter who refused to let pain define her. Her journey reminds us that behind every glamorous photograph lies a human being, vulnerable, wounded, yet capable of extraordinary strength. Time may dim the spotlight, but it cannot erase the courage of a woman who faced darkness and chose to burn brighter. For those who grew up watching her, Ann-Margret is not just a memory. She is proof that resilience is as timeless as talent. And for new generations, her legacy stands as an invitation to keep believing in the power of reinvention. Do you still remember Ann-Margret, the fire, the music, the smile that survived the fall? Share your memories in the comments below. And if this story touched you, subscribe to our channel, so together we can keep the light of Hollywood's legends alive.